In the lonely mountains of the Middle East stood a mysterious fortress. Within this fortress were some of the deadliest troops in history, owing total allegiance to their leader. In the centuries that followed, these men would be sent on top-secret missions to strike even the most powerful men in lightning strikes that led them to be as respected as they were feared. Today we will learn about the Assassins. This is Knowledge Voyage. During the Middle Ages, the forces of Islam and Christendom were in mortal struggle in the Crusades. This 200-year-long conflict produced many epic sieges and battles. But as well as the battles where thousands clashed, there were reports of mysterious killings by foes who seemed to appear and disappear from nowhere. Both Christian and Muslim leaders were killed in these strikes. On the very rare occasions the killers were captured, they showed no fear, did not flinch under torture, and not only showed no fear at the idea of execution, but positively embraced it. These men would become known as the Assassins. The Assassins were part of the Ismaili sect of Shia Islam. The Ismailis are one of several sects that grew out of disputes in early Islam about who should lead the community of believers. The Ismailis belonged to the Shia sect of Islam and were settled in Iran. The Assassins' headquarters was the imposing fortress castle at Alamut, which means Eagle's Nest. It was approachable only by one narrow road, and from the fortress any approaching force could be seen from many miles away. Add to that the fortress was full of elite killers, and this all explains why the fortress was such an excellent base. But what went on within those high walls? The leader of the sect was known as the Old Man of the Mountain, who would recruit young boys and raise them within the walls of the fortress. As they became young men, one night he would drug their food with strong hallucinogenic drugs. Servants would then carry the young men to a special luxurious garden, usually hidden off from the rest of the palace. In this garden were fountains, shady palm trees, and one other feature. The garden was full of young, beautiful women who would dance suggestively and tease the men whilst feeding him choice fruits. The aim of this was simple: to give the young man a glimpse of the afterlife as the Muslim holy scriptures describe it, complete with fountains, luxurious foods, and beautiful women. Once the drugs wore off, the young man would be approached by the Old Man of the Mountain, who would explain he had granted the young recruit a glimpse of paradise. The old man would promise the young man, if he died on a mission, he would return permanently to this heaven. This explains why the young assassins were so fearless in the face of torture or death. There were rumours the old man had demonstrated how devoted his followers were to him by ordering one to leap out of a window to his death at a dinner party before astonished guests. It is popularly believed the assassins regularly smoked hashish, but this is not the case. Drug use would make them unable to think straight and therefore make them useless on highly sensitive and dangerous missions that they were sent on. The name assassin is not derived from hashish, but from an Arabic term used to associate perceived heretics with drug use. The assassins' primary targets tended to be other Muslims, particularly Muslim leaders who had oppressed or insulted members of the assassins' Ismaili sect. As in Christian history, different sects of the same religion have not always got on well. When hardline Seljuk Turks entered the region, they ascribed to an austere Sunni Islam and viewed Ismailis as a potential fifth column and heretics. In 1092, the Seljuk Sunnis launched an unsuccessful attack on the assassin fortress and allegedly killed Ismailis in the towns surrounding it. To avenge this, the Old Man of the Mountain ordered an attack on the man responsible for the attack. That man was Vizier Nizam al-Malik. The Vizier was a powerful figure, and only the Sultan was more powerful. Despite a bodyguard, the assassins approached the Vizier as he was being carried on a litter and stabbed him to death. In the years that followed, generals, politicians, imams and mullahs were all taken out in lightning strike killings. This included killing a Fatimid caliph in Cairo and not one but two Abbasid caliphs in Baghdad. The caliph had a similar status in Sunni Islam to a pope in Catholicism, and this gives you some idea of their ability to strike even the most senior and well-protected men. The assassins were masters of infiltration, intelligence gathering, and psychological manipulation. One example of this was the way assassins would often try to terrorize future targets. Many times a target would wake up in the morning to find a dagger pinned to their pillow, and a note was wrapped around it. The note would tell the target how peaceful he looked as he slept, and that the assassins would soon see him again. Many assassin targets would be driven into extreme fear and depression by this, wondering when the attack that would kill them would finally come, and the assassins would often wait for months or even years to let the fear build before striking. As one Arab chronicler wrote, "No commander or officer dared to leave his house unprotected. They wore armour under their clothes, and even the vizier wore a mail shirt under his clothes." But for all the terror they inspired, it would perhaps be unfair to describe the assassins as terrorists. Unlike terrorists who cowardly target innocent people, the assassins were under strict orders not to harm the poor or the weak, and were told only to target powerful oppressors. Things began to change for the assassins in the early Middle Ages. As the Mongols swept into Persia, the assassins finally lost control of their mountain fortress, and they needed a new home. The best place to move was Syria. Syria was like Persia in that it had many tall mountains and narrow passes, aiding defence and secrecy. Syria was also politically and religiously mixed, and so no one sect had the control or power needed to become oppressive. But they needed a fortress and used their usual cunning and genius to take one. A party of assassins changed into Crusader armour, and then a group of other assassins posed as local Saracens. They approached the fort of Afamia and told the defenders manning the gates they had captured Crusader prisoners, and the delighted fort defenders opened the gates. Their delight was short-lived, as the assassins cut down the defenders and took the fort for their own operations. Initially, the assassins got on well with the Crusader armies around them, as the assassins were always primarily concerned with sectarian feuds with other Muslims, not Christians. They offered the Crusader kings a truce, and in exchange would provide both assassins and their intelligence and spy network for use against their mutual Muslim enemies. The Crusader king Almaric was delighted, and it made perfect sense to make this political alliance. But the deal was ruined when a one-eyed Knights Templar named Gautier de Mesnil chased and killed the assassins on their way back from making the deal. Part of the deal involved the assassins no longer having to pay tribute taxes to the Templars, and the Templars would not allow it. The hardline Templars also refused to see how the Muslim assassins should be allies with the Crusader forces. The deal obviously was broken, and the Templars had meddled in an alliance the Crusader kings desperately needed. The assassins retaliated with killings in Christian territory, and the security of the Holy Land was therefore further weakened. Among their more high-profile killings was the King of Jerusalem, Conrad de Montferrat. He was attacked and killed by a group of assassins who approached him disguised as Christian monks. Rumours persist they may have been encouraged to do this by Crusader knights who were unhappy with his rule. Whilst in the Crusades, the assassins came into conflict with Saladin. Saladin had become the defender of Sunni Islam, and the rather mystical and unorthodox assassin sect were his rivals. Despite his power, Saladin was about to learn just how deadly the assassins could be. An assassin envoy was sent to deliver a message to Saladin. Upon entering his throne room, the assassin politely asked everyone to leave because the message was for Saladin's ears only. Saladin dismissed everyone except his 2 personal bodyguards. At this point, the assassin envoy wanted Saladin to show respect to the assassin order because they had men everywhere. Saladin scoffed, but he was soon about to be humbled. The assassin envoy then casually asked Saladin's 2 bodyguards if they would kill Saladin if the old man of the mountain were to order it. To Saladin's terror, they both calmly said that they would. Saladin now realised the assassins had infiltrated even his personal bodyguard. Fortunately for him, the old man didn't want him dead, only to warn him not to make an enemy of the sect, which he wisely chose not to do. But the assassins would soon suffer 2 hammer blows in the 1200s. First was their unwise attempt to assassinate Mongol ruler Munkay Khan. Munkay, father of the future ruler Kublai Khan, did not take too kindly to attempts to assassinate him. He sent his forces to crush the remaining assassin strongholds in Persia, using all the force the world's largest empire had at their disposal. The second hammer blow was when the Baybars became the Sultan of Egypt. With the assassins reeling from the Mongol attacks, the Mamluks slowly strangled assassin fortresses into submission. There are no accounts of assassin activity after their last stronghold was seized in 1273. The assassin sect is gone, but their influence lives on. Their name has become synonymous with fanaticism and political violence, and whilst the sect is gone, their reputation will continue for some time to come. Thanks for watching everyone, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Thank you.